Location, the lab. Quentin only has 24 hours to sell his car. Is that even possible? He goes to Carvana.com.
What is this, a movie trailer?
He ignores the doubters, enters his license plate. Wow, that's a great offer. The car is sold, but will Carvana pick it up in time for...
They'll literally pick it up tomorrow morning. Done with the dramatics?
Car selling in record time.
Save your time. Go to Carvana.com and sell your car today. Pickup fees may apply.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file, Abbott Diabetes Care. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Thank you, Mrs. Claus. It looks like all of our final checks are complete and... Oh! I don't think I'll ever get the hang of this technology. Hello again, Adventures in Collecting friends. It's me, Santa Claus. I am told that by the time you all hear this message, I'll have already made my yearly journey around the world. But as I'm sure you're all well aware, Christmas is so much more than a day. Ho, 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 ho. 2022 was a year that found us gathering again. Though, we've continued to offer remote work options for our elves here at the North Pole, you know. I'm proud of so many of you for staying on the nice list this year. The world can certainly make that challenging. And don't think your good deeds and kindness don't go unrecognized. Now, if you'll excuse me, these cookies won't eat themselves, and your gifts certainly won't deliver themselves. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays!
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, you're a day late and you're a dollar short, Dave. Technically, Christmas was yesterday. But
yeah, and, Santa dropped by as usual.
Yep, big shouts to our friends up at the North Pole. The elves, Mrs. Claus, Santa. Thanks for dropping by as always and spreading that holiday cheer. Hopefully you're resting up if you're listening, Santa.
And for recording an intro, he better be listening. He recorded an intro.
I mean, isn't he always listening?
Well, he knows, he's always watching, and he knows if you've been bad or good.
Yeah. So he's got to be careful, though. That always watching thing, that's like a cancelable offense at this point. But I guess Santa's immune to that, so he's special.
I mean, right? Also Roz from Monsters, Inc.
Always watching. I can't do the voice. I'm not going to even try. Though I did try. But
it's too late to try.
So it is our annual holiday episode, and this is what our third. I don't know, but
third sounds right.
It's also our 100th numbered episode, Dave.
Yes.
So
you might have downloaded this more than 100 times, but the bonus episodes and the news don't count.
Yes, this is our 100th numbered episode, and we did not plan it to fall as our Christmas episode. But
I think like for like a championship belt, it's like a lineal champion. So it's our 100th lineal episode.
good. I like that the vocab word. Very nice, Dave. And so it's our 100th episode. It's a special episode. It's the holiday episode. There's a lot happening here that's special. So of course
There is. And Eric, you've been burying that lead for quite a bit now.
I have.
In the hype train.
Yeah, the hype train has been rolling. And I have to say, we put up an Instagram story and we let people guess, and we had some very funny guesses as to who who was our special guest today. So I'm not gonna throw anybody's guess anybody who guessed.
There were some interesting ones though.
But I am gonna mention a couple of the people. So a few people guessed Mark Hamill, which I mean,
our guest was even taken aback by that.
Yeah, but bless your soul for thinking that Mark Hamill A knows that we exist, and B had time the week before Christmas to come on to come on.
Had time the day after Christmas, Eric.
Yes, the day after Christmas. Dolph Lundgren was another guess. I
don't. That would have ruled, but
again, two people. If Dolph, if you're out there listening, you are welcome to come on the show. All ego Ethan Page was a suggestion, and we got to tell a little story about a time that he actually almost was very nearly a guest on this show, but due to an unfortunate last minute scheduling conflict that popped up, and unfortunately he couldn't make it. So Ethan, once again, you're welcome as well. A couple people who must be new listeners guessed a couple of past guests, Matt Cardona, Lenny, and our friends Lenny and Emily from the Hasbro team, who you'll actually hear from later.
Yeah.
So technically, I guess they are on the show, but nope, that's not the answer either. But a past guest did actually guess this right. So, shouts to Hasbro Marvel Legends team, Ryan Ting. He guessed this, and
I saw that, and I was like, wow,
and
he got it.
Yeah, nailed it. So just as a primer, because I'm not going to put the guest in the title of the episode, so you're downloading this and you're like, you still don't know who it is. So I said that this is the most special and important guest that we've ever had on the show, integral to this show's existence, even.
Yes.
Which none of this is hyperbole, because
like literally integral to the existence.
Without this person, frankly, Dave, we wouldn't exist.
We would not.
So,
Eric, if you would not bury the lead,
Mom. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, Mom.
Hi, I'm so happy to be doing this. My two favorite people. I have other favorites now. Thanks to you, Eric. But
without Eric, that wouldn't be possible.
Without Eric, I would not have. So, but my sons are my boys. You just, I love you both tremendously, to the moon and back, like I tell my granddaughters now. And also I have a daughter. I don't consider her a daughter-in-law. I consider her my daughter. So I'm blessed. And I'm very happy to, and I hope I'm not disappointing all these people who wanted all these other guests, because they,
Oh, just
I really don't feel like compared to them, but
Well, listen, it would be unfair of us for any other guest, right, to say that any other guest would be more special than any other guest that we've had on, right? Like we can't say that one toy designer or artist is more important than another. That would not be fair. All of our
guests are important,
right.
Exactly, but special circumstances. Dave and I offline have, I don't know if we've mentioned it on the show, but I know offline we've joked that if we ever got to episode 100, we should have Mom on, because it would be fun. And like we've gone back and forth, like, how, like, what would the topic be? And when it just landed on Christmas, we were like, nope,
It was like it makes sense.
this is
Yeah.
perfect. Timing is perfect. Everything is perfect. So, Mom, before we get into the questions that we have concocted specifically for you, since this is a show about collecting, the first thing that we ask all of our guests, I know you're not currently collecting anything other than yarn and needles, but have you ever collected anything? Like, were you ever a collector?
Well, yes. Back in the day, I really enjoyed clowns. I know there are people out there that are afraid of clowns. A lot of children consider clowns a little scary, and to be quite honest, they can be. But for some reason, I liked clowns. So I had been collecting figurines. I would go to garage sales, and sometimes people would give them as gifts to me because they knew I liked them. But I do have a few clown figurines, and then um, I started actually doing things through the Bradford Exchange. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but we were collecting the plates, Norman Rockwell, and then there was a designer, and I can't think now of the name, but they did like nursery rhyme type plates. And I have a few of those that I collected. At one time, I thought in my house I would put some kind of railing up and kind of so that I could place them around so everybody could see them, but that never came to. So they're still in their box, and maybe they're of some value. And at some point, maybe my granddaughters could, do something with them. But as far as my figurines, there might be a couple that might be worth something, but a lot of them were just regular. Like I said, store bought. You could buy them in a store. They weren't expensive. Um, and the one other thing would be Lennox. I do like Lennox China. I always did, and I have some really pretty pieces. And again, their value were to me, but I don't know how many people really are into collecting that kind of stuff anymore.
I
That
feel
could
like
be collecting from the past, in the past.
I always remember like sad, like you had sad clowns, like you were really into like the hobo looking
Yes,
clowns, like
yes.
the like sad clowns. I don't know any other way to put it. Sad clown. Yeah.
Right. They weren't like spooky looking type clowns. Like I said, sometimes clowns can be scary. I really but no, you're absolutely correct, Eric. They were more the hobo type, pretty. I just thought they were pretty. They were, and colorful. Um, I don't know. There was just something about clowns that I liked. And after a while, it got like too many. So I kind of just said to everybody, stop buying me clowns. Like I don't have any room to put them anymore. Can only put so many on a shelf. So,
And there's a sentence that I didn't think I was going to hear today. Stop buying me clowns.
yeah, I did. I had to actually cut them off because there were just I was getting duplicates, like I said too, and you can only put so many things on a shelf. And as you get older, there's just too much dusting and cleaning involved in collecting all that. So yeah, so as of today, no, I can't. I no. If anything, they're all collecting dust. That's what I'm collecting, dust. But no, that's about it as far as me collecting anything.
So, Mom, what was Christmas like for you as a kid?
Oh, okay. So I have a twin, and I had a younger brother. So when we were little, my sister and my other brother, there was five of us, five children. My older sister and brother were a good. Well, my sister 9 years older, and my other brother maybe 5 years older. So the three of us basically were small, the younger kids. So Christmas for us was always we pretty much if what we asked for, we got. We were very lucky in that way. My parents were very good to us, especially at Christmas time. But through the year, we didn't get anything. Like, you know what it wasn't like today. How can I say it? A lot of the children, whatever they ask for, they seem to get, so that wasn't the case. And back in the day when we were little, you looked forward to receiving things at Christmas time or your birthday. And even birthdays weren't as extravagant as they are today. But Christmas was always pretty good. My parents were pretty kind, I'm going to say, considering they worked hard, and we kind of got at least one thing that we really wanted, So my mother or my father used to say, you better tell Santa at least one thing that you really want, So I had to stop and think, because I thought, well, there's really like maybe 3 or 4 things, but what do I really want? Because that's probably what I'm going to get. And that's exactly what happened. So,
well, I mean, you grew up in around the same time period as like the movie A Christmas Story is set in, right? Like when Ralphie was a little boy, like similar. And I mean, anyone who's seen that movie culturally, I think understands that, he was asking for one thing for like an entire year, and he had to wait until Christmas to get it. And like,
right.
that's not really a thing anymore.
Right. And there were some people in the neighborhood that were fortunate enough to get things like sooner. And that was the other thing. You'd have a friend that, would have something that you really wanted, and they would have it first. And like you'd wait and wait and wait. And you'd say, I hope I get that for Christmas, because that's what I really wanted. It was that kind of way. I mean, we just didn't get things because we wanted them, you had to wait. It was that type of thing. But when you got it, it was like, it felt great, because again, that you looked forward to it for a full year, hoping that at Christmas time, Santa was going to bring that to you, so.
So you mentioned people would get things, early. What were some of the toys that like everybody that you remember, like the toys that like everybody wanted for Christmas? Like what were like popular things?
Well, when I was younger, it was, for instance, like a Barbie doll. Barbies were very big back in those days for me. Bicycle. Oh my goodness, to have a bicycle, because if whoever had a bicycle in the neighborhood, I mean, we would be like, my turn to ride? Can I ride your bike? That it was that type of thing. Like to get a bicycle was a really big deal back when we were little. They were expensive. And then if there were 3 children or 4, or 2 even in a family, you couldn't get one a bike and not the other. So we really had to wait. And then you had to wait to make sure, like in our case, my brother and my twin brother and I, we had to wait for, like, say, a bike until, my youngest brother was able to ride, because we didn't get like a tricycle and then a bicycle. You got a bicycle. And if you were too small for it, well, you grew into that bike. It wasn't like you got a bike to fit you. They would put training wheels on, or I don't know if today, I don't even know if they sell them, but we used to get these block things that went on the pedals so that your feet could touch the pedal. So yeah, you could pedal.
No, I don't think they sell those anymore. I'm sure people still, have to rig them up, but like, yeah, that's definitely not a thing they sell anymore.
That's what they actually did. They would put these things on your pedals, so that if your legs were too short, like I said, because that bicycle was going to last you a couple of years. Yeah. And it's funny, because that was probably one of a big year when the 3 of us came down and there were 3 bicycles. I mean, oh my goodness. And then the girl across the street asked to ride my bike. And I have to tell you this because I'm on the subject, but I was like hesitant to let her, because like, this is my new bicycle. I just got this. And what do you think? She gets on that bicycle and rams it right into a tree. The whole front wheel was twisted. I was heartbroken. And, I got the slap in the head, the back of my head, like, well, you let her ride it, your fault. I was like, but Dad, what was I going to do? You get all upset, but that's how it was. But we played when I say neighborhood, whatever you got, you played outside with it and you shared it, basically. if kids didn't have something, we shared with one another. That's the way it was, and that's like playing dolls. And we would sit on the porch outside and play Barbie dolls or hopscotch or jump rope, Chinese jump rope. I mean, that was growing up in those days. That's how we played. So, but yeah, my favorite probably was getting a bicycle, other than my Barbie doll, because that was another favorite. And then I have another doll, and I have another story. I don't know if anybody really wants to hear it, but
We'll get there. We'll get there.
okay. I could go on and on. You know that, guys.
Was there ever anything on your list that for Santa that you never got but wish you did?
Not, well, if I can't think of anything like that where I really didn't.
A pony.
No, probably. Okay, maybe as I got older, yes, I would say like I wanted, because then I became like a little bit of a hippie, and I always wanted, and I finally got them because I got myself a job and bought them on my own. But I always wanted. Back in the day, we wore moccasins, and they didn't have a sole, and that was the big thing. My mother felt they weren't going to last because there's nothing on the bottom, and when you walk in these, you're going to walk in them a couple of days or a week or so, and then there's going to be holes, and there's not going to be, and wasted money. No, I'm not spending that kind of money. And so she wouldn't buy them for me, but we were into all that. They were suede, made of suede. I mean, they were real moccasins.
Yeah, moccasins.
To the point of where she was absolutely correct, and I wouldn't tell her that I had holes in them. What I did was I would go home, and the back of my notebook, because it was like hard cardboard, I cut it. I would make a cutout and put it inside the moccasin, so that when I was
you're a real free spirit, Mom.
Yeah. When I was walking, my foot wasn't actually touching the outside, But yeah, it did. They wore down, and because I wore them out until they couldn't wear them anymore. But that was the one thing that I kept asking for, and I thought for sure. And the one year I saw the box, and I thought, "Yay, I'm getting my moccasins!" And it was ice skates, and I didn't know how to ice skate, and I could never learn to ice skate. It was crazy. I used to fall constantly.
That's
just
like
could
me.
not ice skate. So I was disappointed. That was probably the one thing that I wanted that I didn't get.
So you kind of alluded to it before, and Dave Dave and I both know the story, but I think we know where you're going to go with this. But do you have you mentioned the bike, you mentioned the Barbies, but is there anything else that was like a favorite memory, from Christmas, like a thing that you got for Christmas that you'll never forget?
Yes. I got the Shirley Temple doll one year, the real Shirley Temple doll. And not only did I get the doll, but I got the outfits that for each movie or film that she did, the sailor dress, her little outfits, I got the outfits along with it. So I mean, I used to watch Shirley Temple all the time growing up. And I was thrilled. The thing was, my mother said, this is the type of doll that you really shouldn't take outside and again play with and take it all apart. You should hold on to it because it will have value as you get older. And maybe you'll have children and you can pass it, down to your children. It would be nice to keep. So anyway, and the box she came in, you can see her. So I was okay with that.
And this is just so that people, because remember, people are listening to this. This is like they could kind of picture this doll. This isn't like a 10-inch tall Barbie. It's like this was like a 12-inch tall doll.
Yeah, maybe 16 inches. Yeah, 14.
Yeah, probably porcelain, maybe.
It's
no. She was a regular boxed doll, but she was
Okay.
Exactly,
yeah.
Eric.
So it's the 1960 for doll aficionados that may be listening. It's the 1960 Ideal Toys Ideal, still a company actually. Ideal Toys Shirley Temple doll.
She had the ringlets. I mean, she really looked like Shirley Temple. She had the dimples. I mean, it was a beautiful doll. And like I said, I got the outfits and I put them all. She would be on the dresser in my room, and I loved that I finally got, this doll. And like I said, I really didn't play with her. And then something terrible. I came home one day and my doll was gone. And all her outfits, along with one of my Barbie dolls and some outfits. And I thought, somebody came in and robbed the house and just took my dolls. Like, are you kidding me? So I got really upset. I got angry first. Later I cried myself to sleep. But my mother was like, I don't know what happened to your doll. What do you mean your doll is gone? I said, my doll is gone. Shirley Temple's gone. Where is she? Lo and behold, my father gets home from work and tells me that he gave away my doll. I wasn't playing with it. You weren't playing with it. You didn't want it. You need it. So I gave it to a friend whose child, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot. There's a lot of kids in the family. So I just bagged it and brought it there. I said, and my Barbie doll too? And he said, you're getting too old to play with the Barbie doll anyway. What are you worrying about? I mean, this Barbie doll, if I still had her today, would be worth a small fortune for sure, because she was one of the original Barbie doll, So, but the Shirley Temple dolls really, really upset me the most. And I said to my father, who did you give this to? I actually went over to the person's house. Of course, now it's several days later or whatever, and I rang the doorbell and I explained who I was, and I said, Joe Pasiga, that was my dad, I said, gave your husband a doll, but it's mine and I want it back. I would like it back. And now the next thing I see is this little child holding now Shirley Temple by her hair. She's out of the box. Her curls are no longer curl, And my Barbie doll is in the other hand, which has now, it looked like black magic marker all over it. I mean, both dolls are ruined. They were ruined. So the woman said, well, if you want, I'll see I don't know where everything else is. I'll bag it and you can take it. And I was like, no, thank you. Forget it. I left, I turned around, I left, and I cried all the way home.
Aww.
Because it was destroyed. It wasn't even, why would I take it back now? But that was a horrible, horrible, horrible memory to have to deal with. But anyway, it's done. It was done,
We said favorite Christmas memory.
Oh, that was supposed to be a favorite Christmas memory?
Well, it was. It just
it wasn't anymore. So yeah.
But the actual doll was the favorite Christmas memory, and then Papa went and Papa'd.
He thought he was doing. Then he explained. He thought he said, how did I know?
Hey, you know what? Listen,
it is like I said. It's
through the eyes of an adult, all these years later, that doll that made your Christmas special ended up,
making
granted, she didn't play with it the way that you did, but
right, it made her happy.
We've all seen Toy Story.
Yeah. So
now, as an adult, do you ever think like, man, I should check eBay, or like, I'm gonna try to find that doll again?
I think I tried one time and for some reason could not find it. The one that I had. I mean, they have a lot of, and I didn't even realize how many were made. But I guess I thought she was like an original, but I guess she really wasn't, because there were older ones that were made. But the one that I had really, really looked like the Shirley Temple.
Yeah. The one you had was reproduced several times again after in different outfits, but you had the one that was like from like the late 50s, early 60s.
Right.
So
yeah, no, because after, like I said, you, like anything else, you grow up, and what was so important then, and it's a memory I'll always remember because of it happened. It doesn't mean, it's a material thing. I mean, it's not, I didn't lose too much sleep over it. Let's put it that way,
And now, a word from our sponsors.
this segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at ChubsyWubsy.com. That's ChubsyWubsy.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you.
Pop into a new career with CGC, the world leader in pop culture collectibles grading. CGC is seeking world-class Funko Pop experts to lead a new division dedicated to authenticating and grading collectible toys. This is an incredible opportunity to help build a new grading service in a hot collectibles category. Think you can play the part? Apply today at cgcgrading.com/careers. That's cgcgrading.com/careers.
Face it, shaker bottles suck. Your shakes always come out clumpy and they're a pain to clean.
You're right, Dave. That's why I decided to ditch my shaker bottle for good and get myself a BlendJet 2 portable blender. It makes perfectly blended shakes in just 20 seconds.
BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease.
BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. It lasts for over 15 blends and recharges quickly via USB-C.
Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go.
With an array of colors, patterns, or even Disney-inspired designs to choose from, show off your personality while you're blending up something delicious on the go.
What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code AIC12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. So Eric, I ran to the store today and I was doing that power walking thing to the toy aisle. The guy next to me was too, and guess what happened?
You were both headed for the same figure, weren't you?
Yep, but I got there first.
Now that's a close shave.
You know what else is? A nice trim thanks to this show's sponsor, Manscaped.
You're dang right, Dave. And that's the kind of close shave I can get behind, and you all should too. I just used the Mower 4.0 with its cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 4000K LED spotlight if you need a more precise shave.
And if you thought that was good, you can take your grooming game even further. You can take it to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer.
And don't forget about their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. They'll change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Trust me when I say this, guys. Your balls will thank you.
Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code AIC at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls.
That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com with code AIC. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
And now back to the show.
So Dave, let's wind the clock forward now. I know we usually call this Ghosts of Christmas Past, so we're still in the past, but we're jumping a few years. Dave, why don't you let's take Mom to our past now?
Yeah. So, what was it like trying to find toys for us for Christmas before the internet?
A horror.
Great
I
answer. Next question. No.
I remember, and there were Bradley's. Let's see, I'm thinking of the stores.
Wait. Yeah, let's go down the list because,
Oh my
I
goodness.
know we have young listeners. Thanks,
Yeah.
Spotify demographics information. I know we have young listeners that are gonna this part. I think is gonna completely blow their minds because,
because they're used to Walmart, Target.
yeah. So
Oh yeah, no, it was Bradley's. It was of
Caldor.
course Toys R Us. It was a Caldor. There was
Kmart.
there was Kmart, but there was
Sears.
a store that was called Toys for Us, or no Toys. There was another store. It was strictly toys too, like a Toys for Us, but not as large. Okay, it was
KB.
KB Toys, okay, all of these stores. I can tell you, they used to send out flyers, number one.
Wild World.
And you would look at these flyers and you'd say, yeah, they say they have, say 50, and that's probably exaggerating, of whatever. And I remember, because your father used to say, "You're crazy. What do you think you're doing?" I remember going out midnight. I remember getting up very early in the morning, standing and sometimes in cold, in the rain, whatever, waiting online to get into the store because, well, there's 7 years between the two of you guys, but whatever you wanted, Ma wanted to make sure you got. That was like my goal in life, was to get everything that you wanted, especially at Christmas. And I still probably, you're laughing, but like, make a list, and I would and everything on that list. If it was a piece of gum, chewing gum, a certain flavor, I made sure I was going to get it. But anyway, so I would get online with all these other lunatic mothers. Most of them were mothers. I'm not going to say there might have been a few fathers, but the majority of us were mothers. And we would wait online, and then the doors would open, and it was like, charge, everybody just like getting through the doors, running to whatever aisle because you knew where the item was going to be. And you'd get there and it was nothing on the shelf. Nothing. And I remember even having arguments with people and saying, I have the flyer. There was supposed to be 50. I was 25 in line. How could it be gone? There's no way. And I would be, and you got it. You got crazy. And I walked out of the store saying, I can't believe I just acted that way. Like, oh my goodness, over a toy. But you did, because now I had to get back in that car and run to a different store. And I mean, I would hit every store there was until I found that toy. And a lot of times I would be disappointed because it wouldn't be there. Then I'd have to go home and look through papers again, call people, call my friends. Did you get it? Were you able to get it? Or we'd call each other and we'd say, oh, if you're going there, I'm going to this other store. Buy them, because even if you bought two, you could sell it to somebody or bring it back to the store and return it so that some other person could have that toy. I'm telling you, because everything you guys wanted, everybody else wanted too. It wasn't like there was anything that you wanted that was only you wanted. Everybody wanted it. It was always that favorite toy that had to be, and we all went to get it. And
all right, so was there ever anything?
So it's exactly the same as it is now.
Yeah. So first of all,
the internet you could get, I think, easier. No,
so the problem is, Mom, the internet is a double-edged sword.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, you could like now they do pre-orders, right? So like, there's anyone that follows us on Instagram knows that like we post when pre-orders go live, or like Hasbro will send out a press release, and we know that in a day or two the pre-orders are going to go up. Same goes with Mattel for the wrestling figures, that kind of stuff, right? Like there are quote unquote, they call them drops now, Mom. But the problem is like the pre-orders sell out, and a lot of times that's it. Like they won't go to stores; they're online only. Or there's a lot of stuff that Target is kind of notorious for this, where you'll pre-order something and they'll cancel your pre-order. Like
or it'll show up in stores before the pre-order gets
Yep.
shipped.
And I mean, like, it's something that you could have pre-ordered for months and months and months and months, sometimes as long as a year. And then all of a sudden, a year later, you get an email from Target that says, like, sorry, we can't fulfill your pre-order.
Walmart.
Yeah, or Walmart. I shouldn't just call out Target. Walmart does it too. But
Oh, wow.
yeah. And like I said, the internet's a double-edged sword, because there are tools out there that, they're starting to get shut down at this point, but that have actually accessed the store's stock information. And you can put in like a series of numbers and figure out what store has your thing in stock, but literally so can everyone else. Like that, the information is not, it's not secret.
Fast enough. Yeah.
In deference to the tool too, like it's started to become something that's included on, like for Walmart's website or for Target's website.
Yeah, they just built it in. That way you could see before you head out. So kind of like the flyer, like a physical flyer. It's just more up to date, more live. But like, do you remember any specific toys that were like particularly difficult to find? I know you just said like, we always wanted the popular thing, which makes sense, especially with action figures. But like, do you remember like a specific figure, a specific toy that was like a particular pain in the ass to find?
The Batmobile, when one of you wanted a Batmobile, that for some reason that Batmobile was very difficult. It went like, it seemed like as soon as it hit the shelves, it was gone. They were gone.
I wonder which Batmobile it was.
And I can't remember what this was called. It wasn't, I don't believe it was Transformers. Might have been Power. It was a thing it became a huge robot. The arms were like figures. The two on the legs became
that could be two things.
Figures.
Voltron.
It's Voltron.
Maybe it was that. That was that you wanted it. I forgot who won. David.
That's me.
And that drove me crazy because that was so hard to get. And that too was constantly off there. Every time I would call a store, and by the time I got there, it was gone. Because they wouldn't. That was the thing. They wouldn't hold anything for you. What they did do back in the day, I don't think you can do that anymore. Is they had what they called a layaway.
They still have layaway.
If I went to the store, like say in October, because I knew somebody wanted something, I could put it on layaway and pay it off, which was great. And I used to do a lot of that. As long as every week you paid more on it. Otherwise, they would put it back on the shelf on you too, and just give you your money back on whatever you had originally put down. Say if an item was $50 and you paid $20 to it, and you forgot to go or forgot to pay more, they'd put it out there, and then you would get your $20 credit. But I did a lot of things like that because I didn't want to bring it in the house and have anybody find it. And it was just an easy way to get something that was there. And sometimes that didn't work either because, again, and Eric, you were good for things like this, where you wanted like Halloween, I'm going to be, and then a week later you want it to be something else. So it was like buying something and then you saying, oh, I really don't know if I really want that anymore. Which was rare in your case, in both of you, because it was either a lot of figures, things that, for instance, we went through how many figures? It was He-Man at first with Dave.
Battle Cat.
Masters of the Universe. Oh my goodness, yes. And
one of my favorite videos. Oh my God.
It was He-Man, and then it was Rambo. and a lot of Rambo figures. Then wrestling became popular, and then it was the wrestling ring, and I don't know how many wrestling rings we went to, because I would get one, and then I would buy it, and then on TV he'd say, "That's the ring I want. See, that's the wrestling ring I want, Sandra." And I would be like, "Oh, that's not the one I bought." So it was like running back to the store to get the one you wanted and returning the one I already bought. I mean, a lot of times, if your father ever knew some of the things that went on for shopping, he would probably like really go ballistic. But this is what I mean. It was always then it was Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Turtles. Then it was. Oh, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah,
Because
this is great. Keep
then
going.
it was,
On the
then it
time.
was, like I said, Voltron. Then it was Power Rangers. Then it was G.I. Joes. They became a big thing for a while. We even went through the Matchbox cars, like different Matchbox for a while. Then it didn't end with just small wrestlers or big wrestlers. They were like giant sized ones, which is another story, I can tell, of Eric being very, very small and coming one morning to kind of get me up, I guess, and clocking me when I actually got my whole eye turned black and blue. And my cheek, because you caught me like right on the bone. And I was walking around for a while, people thinking that I was an abused housewife. But
All because I hate you at Andre the Giant.
and that hurt. I will tell you that, because that was those big ones at that time. But
So what if I told you that literally every single toy line that you just mentioned is literally like you just named like the top 10 most popular toys like right now.
really,
G.I. Joe, Power Rangers,
Marvel,
even Voltron.
then
Yeah.
it became Batman and all the different, Superman. I mean, because we even got, what was it, the Superman place that I'm trying to think of what it was. The
Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice.
Yeah,
That was
Hall
me.
of Justice. I mean, because it didn't just come, it didn't stop with figures. You guys had to have some of the things they wrote in, or the play sets. I mean, we went through a couple of back caves, I think.
Mm-hmm. Remember that one
That was more you.
Remember that Batcave that was? We talked about this actually last year on the show. But do you remember the Batcave that was 3 pieces with like
Yes.
the zip line and stuff that connected? It was like 3
Yes.
like floating
I
islands.
put that together.
That thing was the best.
Yes. And I remember a lot of times when you were putting them together, and if there were decals on so many differences, and not so much with you, Eric, but with David. Even when he was young, Dave, you were so like, the sticker had to be just right. I mean, God forbid if it was off, it wasn't put on, you'd go like, no, it's gotta go this way.
That's why Dave always did the decals for me. I
makes
learned that
sense.
at a very early age. That was like,
Yeah, see, I'm not wrong, because that's how he was. So a lot of times he did them because if I was off a little, it wasn't the right way, But and that was crazy, because most things did have like play sets and stuff had decals, of course. But there was a lot of, not to mention you guys were even into collecting. Well, David was with your father, the baseball cards. I mean, I remember how many times you would go on a Saturday or a Sunday to collect, to get boxes of baseball cards. And I thought, why? Like, what good is it? Where is it going? Like, where are these going? But there was some
what
some
are
kind
you
of
doing with all those cards, Dave?
yeah. What are
doing?
you gonna, I mean, the toys I understand, because after a while too, although it was difficult to give anything away in Dave's case anyway. Eric, again, you were a little more flexible, but David really did not like to give anything away.
I don't know. I don't know I don't know if that's the right take on that. I'm a little bit.
Are you
You haven't
king?
you haven't seen my space recently. But sticking with Christmas morning, you mentioned all those toys and everything. What are some of the like your memories of like us when we were kids on Christmas morning? Like, do you remember, like, was there like a particular thing that like
Mhm.
you remember us opening and being so excited for? Because
Um,
like my memories of Christmas, like as much as I hate to admit it, like my brain is mush. There are honestly, like very few things that I remember. Like I remember the toys that I had, but like I don't remember that first time like I opened something. Like I just don't.
yeah. It was a lot of times it was overwhelming. I mean, and in one case, I will probably now that I'm older say, your father used to say, way too much stuff here. Like, what is wrong? And the problem that became the reason that happened was again because I would start out earlier to try to shop and then you kind of forget what you bought. It's put aside, you're hiding it, and when you go, I would remember talk about staying up for hours to wrap because I wrapped everything individually. Like each figure was wrapped separately. I wanted you guys to to really enjoy it, and you did. When you came down, it was like overwhelming. You just didn't, you know. I think it was like way too much. But anyway, Christmas morning, we'd always, the best was your father and I would, of course, still be in our room and we would hear you. Psst, psst. Well, no, you go try to get them up, and I would laugh because we would make you almost wait even a little bit longer to go downstairs because you guys knew. I used to say to you, now, Santa, you can't catch Santa, so you cannot go downstairs until mom, till we go down first, And so you'd go, Eric, you'd go to Dave and wake Dave up, or Dave would wake you and say, no, you go in and see if they're awake, I heard Santa. I know he came already. Like you couldn't wait to come down. And of course, we left the cookies and the cup of milk for Santa or whatever, And your father or I, whoever ate the cookie, it probably was your father, the cookies, to make sure that like you have to cover all your bases. So we would come down
You
and we
mean
would.
Santa? Wait a second. You guys eat the cookies? Santa didn't eat the cookies?
Yeah, Santa did. That's what I meant. Santa, your father gave them to Santa to eat. Did you hear me wrong? That's what I really meant to say. But anyway, I we would put on the music. There was always music, or before there was music, we would put on the Yule log with the music, Christmas music,
Yep, the Yule log.
and you would come down, and then
Shout out
like
WPIX Yule log.
you would be like so excited because you'd see all the gifts, and I'd have Eric's. Santa would leave Eric's file and he'd leave Dave's file. And then each one took a turn in opening something. And yeah, no, it was, I'm surprised, Eric, that you really don't remember because you were
I
always excited.
I
You,
remember all of these things. Like I remember the process because to give everybody a little context, we lived in like a I guess you could say like Victorian era home. So I was in the nursery room. Like they don't really build houses like this anymore. So you had to walk through my bedroom to get to the master bedroom where you guys, were. So it was like impossible for you to get out of your room it would be impossible in the morning on Christmas morning to get out of your room without, me knowing it. So yeah, so I can remember convening in my room and having those conversations like, no, you go in this year. And I
yeah.
remember I remember the piles, I remember where they used to be, and it always was overwhelming. And like now as a parent, like, and you and I just had this conversation a week ago. It's like I know I'm very well aware of how much space I have in the house.
Yeah.
house.
Mm.
And the girls have their list for Santa, and I got to make sure that Santa gets them stuff too. So like we can't, like it's a tough line to toe.
It
And
is.
and I think Dave would agree. You guys always did a great job. Like I mean, it was we were not
Oh,
for
yeah.
want. We were
for
not
sure.
for want.
Well, and it wasn't just the figures and that type of stuff. You got to remember also there were games. It started with Atari. And from Atari, it went into Nintendo. Nintendo, it went to Xbox. And then it was like Activision or whatever it was. Then it was, help me.
PlayStation.
PlayStation. But it was PlayStation 1, 2, 3. What does it go up to now? 4, 5, whatever. And every time something like this came out, you guys wanted it. You know, it was Game Gear. It was the Game Boy. Then it was a Game Gear. I mean, but with each one of these, it wasn't like, you know, boy, I'll tell you, these companies are very smart because every game did not play in the new machines. So these $90 games, which a lot of them at the time were, some were, they went from 50 up.
Yeah, $50, $60 is kind of always in the...
But, you know, unless it was...
Although those the Nintendo 64 ones were...
Yeah, there were some that were, high. Then they weren't good anymore, you know, because now you had a different game system and you needed newer games. And then we had to... Who would take them? And my heart would because again, I would get, you know, that game was how much? Well, you know what? Somebody's asking and wants, your father would say, somebody was willing to pay like $200 for that $60 game. And I was like, hello? No, they're not getting this game. You know, then the kids can't have it. But this is how, you know, crazy it was out there because people, again, wanted the same games. I mean, whatever game was popular. And I would run to the store again and get these games. And then to find out, within a year, sometimes not even a year, next year, you're taking them and selling them for like a quarter, trading them into whatever game store shop, whatever it is, and getting nothing for them. And I'm like, oh my, you know, I spent $60. He just got it, and David was good for that. He'd say, "Well, I got $2," and I was like, yeah, "Well, $2 to him was, or $5 was a lot when the game cost me $65." Like, hello, you know, that's not a bargain.
Listen, $5 in the early '90s. It's like 50 now.
It's like even the movies. Every movie that came out, was another thing you got.
Movies and
I mean,
getting your DVDs.
Yeah, you know, CDs, DVDs as you got older. I mean, you know, again, books, because then it was you both like to enjoy, you know, you enjoyed reading, and that was always, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind buying a book and stuff because I thought these books were going to have, you know, you're going to keep those things, even records to an extent. But just like anything else, CDs became DVDs. You know, VHS is no longer, and then it was a CD, and then, you know, that now nobody's even buying those because you can get everything online, you know, or on your phone. It's just a lot of things like that. You know, it got very costly, you know. But again, this is what parents do. And you as a parent know this, Eric. You just want to make your children happy. And sometimes you go to an extreme, probably overdo it, you know. But again, I would ask you both to make a list. And whatever that list was, I tried to make sure everything on that list, you know, if I could get it, you got it, you know, if I was able to.
Well, thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So now, you know, like we mentioned, there are 2 grandchildren. So what do you think is different about buying toys now? And is it easier to find stuff for Eric's children?
Well, in Eric's case, Eric and Jess, only because, again, they're raising their children a little differently than what I would call, for me, the norm. Okay. They keep a certain, you know, level to how much they really want the kids to have. And, you know, they don't need to be spoiled. And I get it, you know, and I'm the type of person, and they probably know this, that whenever I see these children, I can't not bring something for them. And, you know, and
so you know the phrase, like, you know, you never show up to somebody's house empty-handed. Like, that is like buried in your DNA.
Yeah. I'm my mother's daughter, though. Nana was like that, kind of. Nana was, and maybe Nana wasn't in material, that type of stuff, but Nana would be like, well, here's $5 or here's $10. Like she had to make sure she gave you guys something.
Oh yeah, we were both were mules to get you money. Nana would be like, give this to your mother, and slip us a 5 or 10.
Well, don't tell her I gave that to you. Put it in your pocket. But anyway, so in to go back to buying, I find the girls that it is easier. I don't know. Maybe it is easier to buy for girls. See, I didn't have girls. It was hard for me to find. I mean, maybe mothers and grandmothers who have had girls can probably go through the same thing and say, no, it's probably the same. It was hard to get this doll, that doll, I haven't really had the issue of anything like that. Of where whatever Madeline has asked for, it's been kind of easy to find and get. Callie's a little too small. She's not asking for anything right now, but, and I would buy Madeline a lot more than what I'm already getting. But again, I get it. I understand.
Well, what I will say is with Mads, there hasn't been, so like, there are still toys that are like tough to find. There has only been one thing, and actually this is a funny story. There's only been one thing so far in her brief time on this planet that she has wanted that was really popular. Only we didn't know it was really popular. Like, just was like, even doing all this toy stuff, like, just was completely oblivious to the fact that this was like a hot item. And you had gotten it with like pure serendipity. Like, you got it and had just kind of put it in a pile to give to her for Christmas. And then after you had gotten it, the toy got super popular. And it was, I don't know if you remember it, but do you remember Fingerlings?
Yeah.
That little like pink monkey that like, after you had gotten that line, you couldn't find it anywhere. Like people were paying like $200 for those little, and they weren't all monkeys. The one that you happened to get was a monkey, but like they're all like little animals.
Right.
They were super popular, and it was literally like, we have learned nothing from toy history. Nobody could find them. It takes a while for like the fulfillment to like fix itself. And then after the holidays, there were just like seas of them everywhere.
Wow.
They went to clearance. Like I don't even know if they still make them. I haven't seen a fingerling in
no, I haven't
years.
either.
But I remember when you showed up with it, and she opened it, Jess and I were sitting there like, and our initial reaction was, oh my God, I really hope that like you didn't go on the aftermarket somewhere. Like we were literally like, didn't want to like, break the illusion. But then afterwards I had asked you, I was like, when did you get that? And you're like, oh, I found it back in like October and I thought it was cute. Put it away for her. And we were just like,
I actually did. Yeah. What happened was, and again, I'm going to go back to why it's easier too. Madeline doesn't, unlike you boys, okay, which again, upbringing, the TV always being on in the house. So TV in every room.
That's another thing. The commercials are not the way that they were when we were kids. They're not like that anymore.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Well, cartoons were a commercial for toys.
And
literally.
every other ad was a commercial for toys.
Yep.
And then especially before the holidays, which used to drive me crazy because it was almost like I don't even want them watching it, because that's what I mean. You would see something else that you wanted, and then you would want that too. And I was like, oh Lord,
It's funny though. Like, so Maddie is now watching like the real Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the G.I. Joe cartoon. Like, she's watching all those cartoons now, and those cartoons are still super effective at what they did, because she'll watch an episode of the Ninja Turtles and she's like, I want Ninja Turtles toys.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And that's another reason why I think her, when she was smaller though, didn't really ask for a lot, because she wasn't watching all of that. And so
she's watching Mickey Mouse.
Of what was really out there, because I remember having her here as a an overnight, and something coming on the TV, and I'd say, "Oh, man, do you like that? Like, would you like maybe Santa to bring that for you?" And she was like, "No, no, I don't know what it is." Like, she really, and that's just how she would, and she would answer. I mean, so it was always like, what do you want Grandma to get you for Christmas or for your birthday? And she would be like, "I don't know, I don't know."
This is the first year that she had some other than that fingerling
Well,
issue. This was the
actually,
first year that she actually asked for a couple things, and
Specific
I will say that
items.
she's gonna get what she asked for.
yeah, and that's what she did with, like, this year. It was funny because she said to me, "Graham, you know what I would really like you to get me for Christmas?" And I was like, "What, man?" And she said, "The holiday Barbie. And you know what? They have it in ShopRite where you shop." And I was like, "Okay, yeah,
Hello, ShopRite shoppers. We've
which
got
I
the
absolutely,
holiday Barbie.
I was like, that's why I said to you, don't get it, because I right there, I'm getting it,
Well,
but
you set me up with a perfect segue there, Mom. So
See, I always do something like completely different. I'll always go like, here's a thing that you like.
in
I'm gonna get you something you don't know exists.
exactly, yeah. Here's the thing that you like, presented in a way that you didn't know existed. But
yeah. Mhm.
over your lifetime, you and I think this is evident from this conversation. You have seen an really like the unprecedented evolution of toys.
Mm,
Like
mm,
through the 60s and 70s, and you saw GI Joe go from a 12-inch doll to a 3 3/4 inch figure. You saw the first ever Wars toys, and like the action figure boom. You were 6 when the first Barbie debuted, and like
mm,
so you were right in that that age
mhm,
range for that
mm,
that Barbie. And you met Barbie has come up several times, the holiday Barbie. And Barbie is going to be on, in movies. Margot Robbie's playing her. So, and two, you mentioned that you've effectively been shopping for two children, and now grown children, for for roughly 40 years. um is there like are are you excited to now be like shopping for two little girls? Like, is it
yeah.
is it fun for you?
Oh, absolutely. And it would be even more fun. Like, I mean, how can I could not wait. One of the biggest things, like for me, was for Maddie, was, and I was afraid to tell you ahead of time. And then when it was going to be delivered, I said, "Well, now I have to tell him because it's going to his house." Was buying her the little house for the backyard, the place for her to play. The door. It had a doorbell that worked. The door
Yeah.
opened and closed. It had the shutters. I mean, it was pink and white. It was so girly, and I was like, "Yes, I can finally send." Because I always wanted to do that for you guys, for you more, Eric, because Dave, again, as your brothers, but there were some things you liked, he didn't like. There was a different likeness, but I knew you would like. You were you like to dress up and pretend like different characters and stuff. So I always wanted, so like getting this anyway. So having that delivered was like one of the biggest things. And then probably one of my favorite, again, with Callie, it's going to still be new. Like this year might be a little more exciting because she's going to be able to open things and really like know what she's opening. But was the year I bought, and that was again out of just, I happened
Oh,
to be in the store,
I know where you're
and
going.
I was like, I'm getting this because I couldn't wait because it just seemed so girly and so cuddly. And I said, but how am I going to wrap this and what am I going to put it in? And then I saw the little shopping cart and I thought, well, I could sit it in this and then wrap it. And that's exactly what it did, was when I bought her that bear. And
Bear.
we
Bear.
watched, when we watched that video, when she opened that morning in your house, I'm sorry, that expression was a hallmark type of
It was pure joy.
It was the look on her face, and this thing was way bigger than she was. If you remember, when she
It's still taller than her. She's
and
7.
she
It's still taller than her.
she, like, couldn't take, like, it was almost like
60
nothing
inches
else
tall.
mattered. Nothing else mattered after she opened that, which was the only thing that I felt bad about, because she was so excited about Bear. And we kind of, from that bear, though, she kind of, like, she calls her favorite bear is the one you got her,
Yeah,
you and Jess.
Vermont teddy bear. Yeah, it's honey bear.
I mean, it is her thing. She's still, and to this day, they love, now Callie loves Bear. I mean, and I almost was tempted to buy a new one, but I said it wouldn't be the same because Bear is Bear. He's like part of the family at this point,
So
He's a member of the family.
This is a 60-inch bear. He's 60 inches tall from head to toe, because he's still tall. The only reason I say, he's between 50 and 60 inches. We'll say that because he's still taller than Maddie. Maddie's 7, and he's still taller than her. For the first year or so of his life, he literally sat in our club chair in the living room. He has been puked on. He's been peed on. He's been pooped on. He's been slept with. He's been outside. He's been in every room of the house, in the basement. He's been in the bathroom. Of course, he's been through the wash several times now. So he's got those, like, once you get one of those older stuffed animals, like, there's just sections that are just, there's no more fluff to them. Like,
because it went down.
It's like pilling.
Yeah,
he's pilling and matted.
He's pilling. He's matted. He smells funny. But yeah, we actually, before we had Callie, because there's what, just about 5 years between the two of them. Before we had Callie, we actually, there was like a moment in time where we were like, Maddie, do we, like, what are we gonna do with this thing? And she actually said something to the effect of, like, Maddie being 4, or at the time, probably 4 or 5, going on 50, was like, well, you can get rid of any other stuffed animal except for this one.
Yeah, no, she really, Bear was,
and now, and he's still, now that Callie is, she'll be 2 soon, he is back to living in our living room.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they both lay on him, and so, like I said, he's a member of the family now.
He
and even if I was
is.
to replace him, it's not going to be the same. It's almost like, when you became attached to, and you both had your own attachments when you were small, very small. And again, if it was taken away from you or you couldn't find it, you were lost. Like, you almost couldn't go to sleep at night until you got it back. So, it's Bear, and that's just what we call it. I mean, I used to remember first going in there, and she would say, Graham, say hello to Bear. And I would be, hi, Bear, how are you, Bear?
Bear's name is Bear.
He's just Bear.
And he's Bear. And, like, and now I see how Callie lays all over him and stuff. And that's what, it just brings me so much joy to see them enjoy something like that, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and he's literally he's an off-brand generic, like, there's he's not like a Russ teddy bear, like, he is just.
I'm going to tell you where I actually got him. I walked into Rite Aid.
I was going to say Rite Aid, Walgreens, yeah.
Something, and they had them. They had smaller ones, right? So they had them on the shelf, and I said to the woman behind the counter, "Oh, wait a minute, I had to get that bear. That bear is gorgeous.
Ma'am, I need that bear."
It was so, with the face on and all. And so she said, "Oh, for you." And I said, "No, not for me." I said, "I have a granddaughter." And she said, "Oh, we have bigger ones." And I went, "Bigger where?" And then she pointed, and it was literally sitting up at the top, and it was you. And I said, "Oh yeah, bring it. Tell them that's the one. Yep, bring it down. I'm getting that." And then I was like, "Now how am I going to do this?" And that's when I said, I went to another store then, and it might have been ShopRite, and they were selling the little push carts. And I said, perfect, I'm going to sit him in here and then just wrap him in one big, and that's what I did that day. And it was funny because Dave, you came with me, I think, to bring the gifts over that because it was like, and I'm going, don't rip the bag, don't rip. I wanted her to be surprised, and she certainly was. But anyway, so shopping for the girls is like the best. I used to think that it was great shopping for you guys, but let me tell you, there was going back. Everybody said to me at one time, when you have grandkids, there's nothing like the love, like you can't imagine. And I thought to myself, what are you talking about? If you have children, like that's the greatest joy in your life. I mean, having the two of you was like, and I said, what are you, crazy? And then you gave me a granddaughter. And I thought, oh my God, the person is right. It's a different kind of love. And it's just, and now I have Callie. And like, so having two
And
boys,
then there was Callie.
I'm like, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed, and that's all I can say. I love shopping. They would not have to want for anything. You know that. If I was able to, and I respect, like I said, you and Jess, and I will follow whatever you say, but they would have anything and everything as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, if there were no rules,
if there were no
know what I would do?
I'd have to buy one of those pod things to put in my backyard.
You would need an extra house.
Yeah, you would have to. You'd have to get a small house in the backyard to put it all in.
Well, here's the thing is, Mom, it's so Dave and I, we've been doing the show now for 3 years, and our toy collections have significantly grown since we started doing this. But
tell me about it.
I think like it all goes back to those Christmases and birthdays for us.
Yeah, that's where it started.
And
yeah,
we have had the opportunity, through these toys and through these conversations to like meet some incredibly talented artists and people who are running these businesses, these multi-million-dollar businesses, and people who are professional athletes that still collect toys, and there's this amazing thriving community. And like I said at the top of the show, and like we were saying on social media before this, we would not be here without you. And thank you for.
It all starts somewhere.
Walt Disney said it all started with a mouse. I guess we could say it all started with a mom. But it's thank you for taking the time to chat about this stuff with us, and and make this episode and this Christmas special.
Oh, I'm happy to do that. You know that. I love doing anything with you guys. I love spending as much time as I can with both of you. And even though you're much older and you're not children anymore, you'll always be my babies. So anytime I can spend with you or do anything with you, and now especially my extended family, having Jess and the girls, that's all that matters. I mean, and family should matter. That's the key. We got to stay together. And I want to say thank you to the stores, though, to all these. I shouldn't say the stores, to the manufacturers, to the people who come up with these ideas for these toys and stuff for children, because again, without toys, when you're young like that, it's an enjoyment. And we as parents enjoy watching you play with your toys or sharing, time, because today a lot of parents don't have the luxury. I was able to stay home and do a lot with you boys and play with your toys with you, or read the books. Everybody has to work and work hard these days and so there's not a lot of time to do that with their children. And you and Jess do. That's one thing I have to say. You do a lot with the girls, and you include them in everything, and that's the way it should be. You have to. That's how children learn too. They learn wrong from right. They learn family value, and what it is to share and be together as a family. And that's important. They're going to grow up to be good people, and they're happy, and that's good too. It's just nice that everybody's happy. It's all that matters.
Well, from our blood family here, happy holidays and obviously Merry Christmas, and it's here's to many more years. But from our family to our extended Adventures in Collecting
AIC family.
Yeah, our AIC family. We have a couple of to send you off with some additional happy holidays and Christmas greetings. You're about to hear from some of our past guests, our friends, people that mean a lot to us. That, like I said, that we've met along the way. So I think it's fitting to let them send us off this year. Take it away, AIC family, and Dave. Any final words?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Hey everyone, this is Lenny from the G.I. Joe Classified team. If I had to recall my favorite holiday moment, it was when I found the Night Raven before Christmas. And I can remember my dad looking at my mom and being like, "Oh, just give it to the kid." And right then and there, I opened it up. I got to play with it right there. And I just remember being in awe of like all the details of how tactical it was. The red details on top of the black, how you put the Stratoviper in through the bottom of the cockpit. Oh, it was such a cool vehicle. And I knew right then and there, I was hooked to this line for life. So I look forward to all the kids that have moments like that, that have toys like that get them hooked and get them into stuff and inspire them to do great things as they grow up and go through life. So happy holidays, everyone.
Hey, this is friend of the pod, Typhars, wishing you all a Merry Christmas. One of my favorite Christmas memories was when I got, as a kid, the Titantron Life playset from Jack's Pacific, with the Vince McMahon figure that didn't even look like him. What a toy.
Hey, this is Tony from the Hasbro model team. My favorite Christmas memory would be actually recent, last year. I was kind of perusing a Master of the Universe toy collector's book with my 5-year-old. And unbeknownst to me, he was kind of picking out figures that he wanted that I didn't have, and woke up Christmas morning and he brought me over a couple packages, one being King Hiss and the other one Squeeze. So he was very sneaky, and I really appreciated it. Happy holidays.
Season's greetings, everyone. This is Justin Cavender, Senior Marketing Manager over at Bandai Namco Toys and Collectibles America. For my favorite holiday toy memory, we're going to go all the way back to Christmas 1994. I was 14 and it was Christmas Eve. My family always went to my grandma's house for the holidays, and all my cousins, aunts, and uncles, and everyone else all stayed in one house. We needed a quick breather because the house was crowded and decided to get on out for a bit, and my cousins and I went to Toys R Us. As I was cruising the video game aisle, I came across Maximum Carnage on SNES. I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't tell my parents about this game. How would they possibly know to get me this thing? For which, if I don't have, I will probably die. And then the store employee walked by and he said, if you want this game, you better get it now because we only have a couple copies left. And of course I didn't have any money. I was 14 and I left sad and defeated, and there was no way I was going to get this game for Christmas. Then Christmas morning came and none of the presents in my pile looked anything like a video game box. I got down to the last present, and when I removed the wrapping paper, it was a white gift box, one generally used for clothing, and I opened it up knowing that I was going to get some shirt or sweater or something like that, but as I pulled back the tissue paper, I was staring at Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage for SNES. My mind was freaking blown. Is Santa real? Possibly. I don't know. I didn't tell anyone about this game, and here it was right under our tree. My parents, of course, have no memory of this, as it was just another Christmas for them, but somehow a Christmas miracle for a 14-year-old boy was fulfilled. And, I sucked at the game, but I played it every single day for a long, long time. That red cartridge still puts a smile on my face to this day. And that is my favorite holiday toy memory. I wish you all the best. Have a safe holiday season and Happy New Year.
Hi everyone, this is Emily from the G.I. Joe Classified series and Dungeons & Dragons toy lines over at Hasbro. I think that my favorite holiday toy memory is from when I was 8 years old in 1998, the year that the original Furbies came out. And all I wanted was an all-white Furby. They were impossible to find. And I wake up on Christmas morning and there it is, my all-white Furby under the Christmas tree. It was the first thing that my mom ever bought on eBay. She was so proud of herself and I loved that thing to pieces. And in fact, it is currently sitting in my office working with me now as I get to work on such amazing toys over at Hasbro. So I think that I am just absolutely so lucky. And I hope that everybody has an amazing holiday season and happy 2023.
Hi everybody, this is Khalil from Caster's Corner, and the guys at Adventures in Collecting wanted me to tell you my favorite Christmas memory. So I would say my favorite memory is the year that I wrote a letter to Santa asking him for Voltron lions that the pilots could climb into, and then you can form Voltron. And when I wrote this letter, I did not realize that those toys existed. So when I opened them up on Christmas morning and got lions that I could actually put the pilots in, I was completely blown away. And if there was ever a doubt in my mind about Santa, there wasn't anymore. And so that Christmas really cemented the fact that there is magic in the world, that a little kid could write a letter to Santa, in his own mind invent a toy, and that Christmas it came true. So I'd say that's my favorite Christmas memory. Thanks guys for all the work that you do, and good luck in the new year.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.